Okay, so I'm recording this webinar for those people that can't attend, but for those people that have attended, you can obviously, I shall put it onto YouTube and load it up onto the site tomorrow, and you can revisit it and listen to me talking again. This is two sections to what I'm going to do this evening. I'm going to run through the website and show you where and show you resources and where things are. And I'm also going to then go on and do a tutorial for the assignment that we require you to submit. Okay, so moving down the page, I'm guessing that most of you have actually got into the site already because you're here, although Sue will have emailed you the details of the webinar. Here, the first thing you'll see is actually a link to an introduction to the module, which walks you through the website, which is what I'm doing now, but again it's there to remind you. The next thing we have is resources, books and articles and journals. I'm just going to enlarge this so you can see. So this takes you to our reading list, or recommended reading, and essentially everything you may wish to look at can be found here. However, much is published about mentoring and mentorship all the time, and as things come up we do add them to the list, but please by all means do your own literature searches to see what you can find. What we do have here are the books, and we have quite a review of books. Now, some of these you will see are online resources. And here's the Nurse Mentor Handbook, and I've clicked the link. So essentially, here is the book. You can click here and you will be able to read the whole of the book. You can download it offline and read it, and so on. We have a license for these books that are web books for a maximum of 25 people to read at any one time. So there are 5 other mentorship courses going on at the moment. So if you have trouble getting in, try and revisit it later. It just may be that there are several people reading it at the same time, potentially. So I'm going back to that resource list again, and further down we have journal articles, and again online resources for them. And what did I look at earlier? There's a whole range of things that you've got here, and again you can read and download these articles and save them or print them or whatever you wish to do with them. That's the book we've just been looking at. This is another one that I've linked into about giving feedback. Again, you can download it or read the whole of the article. So please go into this resource and use it for your reading and your studying. It does mean, essentially, with this, and also with, you know, maybe additional looking at different articles and doing your own search, you don't necessarily need to actually physically go into a library. Some of you work for healthcare organisations that have health libraries. By all means, please use those. But this resource is very valuable and very useful for you. There is a link here to our library, and as you now registered on a course, you can access the library's search engines, etc. There's also some other information, general student information, and again, click in, just walk around and have a look. There are some little courses on literature searching and studying which you may find useful, but certainly do go and have a look. As I say, make yourself familiar with the things that we have there. Now, Although I've just gone into the resources, books and journals, sometimes it asks for an Athens account, especially if you are not on a university site. Just follow the instructions there and you'll be able to get access to the journals. If any of you are paramedics, there's a contact for paramedic support. Now, the next thing we have here is a link to our Mentor Centre and our online mentor update. Please undertake a mentor update if you haven't done a first face-to-face one. Please use the link here. What we have is a quiz. We recommend you read or go through these little videos, because it will provide you with information about Plymouth University current student assessment and update you. There's an additional one for nursing, and then once you've had a view that this will be useful for you if you're studying, then you can go in and undertake the online mentor update. In the Mentor Centre there is a lot of other things that are very useful for you undertaking your course, looking at roles and responsibilities, maybe supporting students with disabilities such as dyslexia, etc., how to facilitate learning, promoting skills acquisition. So a lot of things, mini courses, little information about all of these things, and again how to brush up on your skills on assessment. We have a little mini course there. I'm just going to give it some time to take us into that. And this is interactive, and you just follow the course, and there's a little thing for you to jot your answer in, and then you click feedback and it tells you how you've done. So please do go and have a look at the Mentor Centre. I'm just going to go back to our main course while that's happening. Okay, and the link for that then is linked to the Mentor Centre. This is a guide for supporting students with dyslexia. Again, you may find of use for your reading. And this was the last recording that I did for Introduction to the module, which I'll replace with the one that we do today. So, further on down, there are several buttons, and I'm going to look at these. So, here's some guidance for studying the module. Again, that's just a little video about. Here are some little mini courses. There are some links to reading that might be of usefulness for you. Again, preparing your learning environment for learners, facilitating learning, promoting skills acquisition, and managing poor performance. So these are all little snippets and little ideas for you with links into literature that you may choose to look at. Guidance for studying. We have the course handbook here, which I'm hoping you will all become familiar with, because essentially your instructions for what's required of you is in here. So please use that as your point of reference and your guide. Here is assignment information. There is a tutorial here which will take you through what is required for the assignment. Here are some little, again, videos on developing critical thinking and reading, guide hard referencing and avoiding plagiarism, which I'm going to talk about, how to submit your assignment, which I'll talk about, and again the assignment tutorial. This is what we use to give you feedback on, and there's a guide, university guide to referencing. So again, have a little look and explore. What we also have is examples of previous students' work, so you can see how they've structured their work and see how they've developed their assignment, their reflection throughout it. So please, again, have a look to see what is there for you. Some of you might want to go on to be sign-off mentors, and again, that's the link to a little e-learning course on that. For you, for your assignment submission, you would click into this, click into the assignment submission, and follow the instructions. Now, when I click into it, it comes up with how it's set up, but essentially, you'll click in to this, and you will submit your work. So essentially that's the information that's available to you. Please have a look. There's lots of little mini courses about structuring your work and structuring your assignment and all those things, as well as all the articles and books and journals that you feel you might need. Now, what I'd like to know now, I'm going to start delivering the assignment tutorial that's for you. What I would like to know is if anybody is studying this at master's level, is doing level 7 MENT 703. If anybody is, then at the end I will go on, we can say goodbye to the people undertaking the degree, and we can move on, and I'll do a tutorial for those of you that may be doing masters, but please let me know if anybody is. Carly, I'm sorry you had your hand raised. Have you, oh, and Jenna's got a hand raised. Okay. Are you raising your hands because has anybody got a question? Please type the question in, or I can unmute you. Carly, have you a question?
I was just putting my hand up to say that I'm doing the masters,
Okay.
masters level.
Okay, lovely. There's a couple of you. So there's 2 or 3 of you. So what I'll do, as I said at the end, I'll go over the masters in a little more detail. All right. So that's great. Absolutely fine. So there are general principles for both assignments. So I shall talk about those. Again, the Masters website. I'm not using the Masters website for the demonstration tonight, but it's laid out exactly the same, including your assessment and all those things. Everything I've said, it's identically laid out. What you will have is the previous students' work will be Masters students' work, and also there's some additional resources around studying at Masters level there. But I'll talk about that. I'll remind you about that again. So I'm going to move on now to look at tutorial for the assessment. So if you just bear with me, just going to open that up. Things don't always work as fast as you want them to. Well, that's me just being impatient. With the tutorial that's on the website, it's narrated, so I've recorded it, so you'll hear my lovely, boring, dulcet tones all over again. So whilst I have slight technical problems, I've done a wonderful thing and accidentally closed it. I shall endeavour to open it again, so just bear with me. Yeah, see, 3 times I clicked and 3 times it's come up. So Yeah. So assignment preparation. So over the next 3 months, gives you time to think and read and start to gather your thoughts and start to structure what you want to do. I'll talk to you about the guidance Sue will be available for you in a second. There is a designated hand-in date which you will have been informed of, but we'll just check what that is for it before we finish. What I need to say to you is to remind you about anonymity and confidentiality in the assignment that you're going to write. Essentially, both the professional body, the NCHCPC, and also the university take breach of confidentiality very seriously. You may decide to reflect on a situation where you've been supporting a learner and we require you to anonymise them by give them a pseudonym. Also, it's important that anonymity, that your place of work, so that where you work or your colleagues can't be identified. It's fine for you to say, I work in an acute hospital in medicine, say, for example, or I work in a community nursing team, or I work with a specialist team, and that's fine. It puts what you're writing about into context, but it doesn't breach confidentiality and anonymity. And it's, as I said, it's something that's very important. So you can make a declaration right at the beginning saying, for the purpose of this work, I have maintained confidentiality. If you're going to give people that you work with, if you're going to write about them a pseudonym, then that will be absolutely fine. And please do that right at the start. I once read an assignment written by somebody who criticised the way in which the people, her colleagues, mentored, and what she did was criticise the way in which it was mentored, then talk about how mentoring should take place. Now, while she didn't actually say where she worked, I knew where she worked, so this made me professionally uncomfortable. And then on the last page, she actually stated that she had, this wasn't a true picture of the people in which she worked with. She had made it up for the purpose of the assignment. And I wish she had said that at the beginning, because I was feeling more and more uncomfortable as I was reading it. So I'm thinking something's not right here. So I'm going to move on. So those of you that are doing degree level, you're required to write no more than 2,000 words. And those of you that are doing the master's level, you are required to write no more than 4,000 words. We require a critical reflection and evaluation of your performance as a mentor in supporting workplace learning and assessing. It must centre on the module learning outcomes. So please be very careful when you're looking at the handbook, the module learning outcomes that are there. So you've got to include references and incorporate them in, and also your professional standards for education. So if you're nurses, that's nursing midwifery standards for supporting learning and assessing in practice. They are listed in your handbook. The Healthcare Professions Council, if you're an allied health professional, then your standards for education and training are also in there. And it's not the code. You may want to incorporate the code. It is the standards supporting learning and assessing in practice. Your work has to focus on that. And the other thing is reflecting contemporary literature, and I've already indicated that all the time things are being written about mentorship. Those of you that are nurses, midwives, the Nursing Midwifery Council has just last week released their consultation on new standards for education and supervision and assessment of learners, and you would be very astute to have a look at them on the NMC website and also make comment on them in your work. Please do so, that would be fantastic. Now, I have said no more than. And we are saying that writing to the preset word limit is an intellectual skill, and it's part of your work. So you will be judged on the fact that you need to meet this requirement, and therefore you will have a mark reduction if you exceed the limit. Significantly being under the word limit, we could judge your work as being incomplete, so you've got that scope. Now, we are not worried if you're putting in 10 or 12 words, 20 words even, to finish a sentence or a paragraph, but there is no plus or minus. It is exactly what it says on the tin. 2,000 words for degree, 4,000 for masters. So you're going to submit your assignment via Moodle. I'll talk to you about that. Moodle is the site that we've just been looking at. You will go into the assessment site, you will click in there, and you will submit your work. Writing in the first or third person is fine. First person is I did, we did, together. Third is where you say the author did or the author considered. It's up to you. Now, I've just said two sentences where there's a lot of I's or authors in, so just think about and be creative. As I said, together, we did, the student or did this or suggested that or undertook this. So, you know, not too many I's, please. Otherwise, we'll all get very word blinded and it doesn't look for good structure. So please utilize the resources for the module site. There's some additional guidance on studies on our site here. Please go in and have a look at them. Remember that there's previous students' work I've already indicated, and also all the other resources. So when you're reading for your assignment, so I've talked about the literature that's available to you, try and approach it in a planned, structured way. Please try and be ruthless. Look for keywords. Think about what it is you're looking for. It is so easy when you do put in a search, something crops up, you think, oh, that looks interesting, and before you'll know it, you're reading something that's interesting but it hasn't actually really related to mentoring, and off you go. So try and keep it contained. It is never easy to do this. It's never easy to discipline yourself to sit down and do the work, especially things like with weather at the moment. Far much nicer to be outside, and suddenly the cupboard under the stairs that needs tidying becomes a very attractive thing to do. Pace yourself and think about how you're doing. Those of you that have studied recently, think about, you know, how you've disciplined yourself to study. You know, spend some time doing that. You know, all of us have been there where you spent the best part of a day and all you've produced is a paragraph, and it's very frustrating, and we do understand, and we'll look a little bit more further. When you're reading articles, consider the way they're written, because that's a really good guide to how to write academically. And also, obviously, you've got the previous students' work to give you an example of academic writing. So Northampton University have an open skills hub, and they've got some really good resources there on reading, how to read, to prepare and to structure your assignment, and also how to write and how to write effectively. I know some of you put some questions in. I'm going to stop in a second and look to see what questions you're asking. I'm not ignoring you. So why do we need to base an academic assignment on others' work? It shows that you're reading widely, that you're basing opinions based on other research or other what people are saying and writing about, and to help you judge. It shows that you are basing things on that respective body of academic literature and providing evidence to support your research arguments. When we talk about arguments in academic writing, we mean the points that you're putting forward, the things that you are weighing up. So referencing shows that body of knowledge that you've looked at it. It enables the reader to find the source that you've referred to. It gives credit to the original authors and shows that your work is built and established on a respectable body of language, literature, language on the brain, and it avoids plagiarism. I'm going to talk about plagiarism in a second. All of your work is scanned through plagiarism detection software. When you go onto the submission site, you can put your work through Turnitin, the plagiarism detection software, to see if it throws up. What it looks at is percentages of probabilities that your work is original or copied, and it also indicates the sources of that work. Anything that comes up when we come to market, more than 20%, we scrutinise. So please be careful. I'm going to talk a little bit more in a second about that. So again, when you're reading articles, this is how references are used: in-text citation, date, author, and then we want a reference list at the end in alphabetical order, and you use the author date system, Harvard system. And if you remember back to when I started earlier, there is a guide to Harvard referencing on the website. So it says see Program Handbook for Presentation Referencing Requirements. That directs you to the website. Please there. If you feel you need some help because you struggle with something like this, and people do struggle, we've all struggled until we got it in our head, please ask your tutor. So drop Sue a line saying I'm struggling with referencing, could you have a look at what I'm doing here? But again, there's a link to a YouTube video on using Cite It Right, which helps referencing, and it talks about referencing all sorts of things, from television programs to websites to everything. It tells you how to YouTube clips, how to reference them. Now I need to identify secondary referencing. This is where you've read a piece of work and you cited Joe Bloggs said in Smith da 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 da. Certainly at master's level and definitely at degree level, it is expected that you would have read that original work and make your own judgments and decisions, interpreting referencing in your own way. So we do discourage secondary referencing. We expect you to have read it, and essentially most of the work that you're going to read and the references that they cite is readily available. Similarly, quotations, again, that you convert what you've read into your own words and thinking and expressions. In the university guidelines, it says use quotations with caution. Some people you will see will put a definition of mentoring in, for example. That's acceptable, but be very, very careful. Quotations illustrate things. They don't indicate what you've made of them or what you think of them. And so we expect you to avoid that at the present. Okay, somebody's asked what the title of the essay is. Okay, there isn't a title apart from critical reflection and evaluation of your performance as a mentor. That gives you a lot of flexibility to decide yourself, but please don't create your own title because you could potentially go off a tangent. Please seek Sue's advice. That would be of great use to you if you're thinking, you know, am I going off tangent, all that kind of thing. Okay, Kelly, again, thank you. That we're not expecting you to develop a portfolio. We are just expecting you to write an assignment. Somebody's asked how many references. Okay, for degree level, how long's a piece of string? Anything less than 20 is a bit dodgy, but there is so much written about the topic area. The more the better. Masters, you are expected to have read everything on the topic area that you're looking at, and definitely cite as much as possible. But when I come to the Masters, I'll talk about use of referencing and literature reviewing. Right, back to, so I'm going to move forward now because I've come back to where we were. I've come back to plagiarism now. Okay, so plagiarism is classed as copying without acknowledgement, and if you remember, I've just been talking about your work is expected to be based on a sound body of literature. So there is that. Quite often people will copy without acknowledgement, potentially fall into the trap of not being able to paraphrase what they have read well and copying it. However, some people do deliberately copy without acknowledgement. As I said, the plagiarism detection software will detect that. There is another plagiarism, paying for essay writing. You will find websites advertising. If you pay them, they will write your essay for you. And also you can find mentorship essays for sale on eBay, for example. If it is considered an academic offence, and there will be a formal investigation. It does call into question somebody's professional integrity, because essentially they're being dishonest, and our professional body codes do not want healthcare professions to be dishonest. And last year somebody did take some work from an essay writing website and admitted the offence. So please be careful. And if you're, again, concerned about maybe you are or you're not, you can put your work through Turn It In to see, and again, Sue can advise you. So let's talk about rewriting reflectively. Some of you may choose to use a reflective model. Some of the examples of students' work are hung on a reflective model, but please, if you use it, please don't discuss the models. You can say, I prefer to use this model because you're wasting words, and we're not requiring you to critically analyse models of reflection. Please avoid writing conversationally, descriptively. Most reflective models ask for a description, and then there's the how it made you feel, and then there's the analysis and the recommendations for future practice. Your marks will be mainly for your analysis, so please don't waste lots and lots of words on talking about what happened. You could set the scene quite easily in a paragraph and then build on it. Again, look at previous students' work to help you. So again, how are you interpreting things? What are you making what happened? How does the literature link the body of literature on professional mentoring? What does that do? In the module learning outcomes that you are expected, they are to link your work to, they are very broad, but there is a mention there of assessment, so you may choose to explore assessment. The standards for supporting learning talks about things like facilitating learning, and so you could talk about, and creating learning environments, so you could talk about those things. You could incorporate things like giving feedback, and ultimately creating a learning environment and facilitating learning is to enable somebody to achieve and be assessed. So think about those things. What I've said here is, if you're using a model, don't forget to conclude recommendations for practice. However, saying that, one of the things that we will award marks for is that you are concluding with recommendations for future practice. What has exploring the issues that you've chosen to explore, how has that influenced your future practice? And we'd like to see that there. So critical analysis, we're asking you to do this, bring out essential elements, judging and evaluating things, looking at the merits and the deficits of what's there, and introducing arguments. And I've said arguments is, in academic term, is actually saying, well, conversely, maybe I think, you know, my feelings are this, and Joe Bloggs has said that as well. That kind of thing. So underpin with that literature to demonstrate your wide reading. Okay, to help you along the way, we expect you to write a draft outline of around 250 words. Tell us what the area that you want to explore, what professional standards you're going to use, and I've given you a couple of examples there, like facilitation of learning or context, practice or assessment, and maybe some of the literature that you've looked at. Please email it to Sue. You can start this activity anytime you wish, but obviously it's early days for you. But university lecturers are unable to read and comment on work 1 week before handing date. And let's face it, if you're completely on the wrong track, or you're writing what I call is a dog's dinner, it's not good. Having a week just to do the work might be required to shape it up is an enormous task, and you don't want to put yourself under that stress. Some students choose to send sections of their work for review. Some, often, the majority will send the introduction, so it does give you that. A lot of you will email the complete work, and I need to let you know at this point, Sue will say, I'm sorry, I cannot read all of this, therefore I will read the first page. Unless there's anything particular you want somebody to look at. I recently was emailed a middle section of somebody's work because they were struggling to get over a point they wanted to make, and they just said, could you have a look at what I'm doing here? Am I making sense? So Sue is ready and waiting for you. Please utilise this formative opportunity. In our experience, those students that succeed are those that share what they're doing for us to give guidance. That's what we're being paid for, and please do. We do have a high pass rate on this module, which is great for us, but please seek support and help. And Sue is only too keen. So if you don't meet the module assessment criteria, you're not going to pass. It's got to reflect the module learning outcomes. Please complete the online mentor preparation update. Critically reflect on your mentoring practice, link it to this education and mentoring standards, and use the contemporary literature. If you do all those things, you're going to be able to pass. And you know, it is something that we want to help you to pass, and we want to facilitate that. Sue is available as your point of contact. If anybody wants to have another discussion or a web meeting, then let us know, and we'll set up another one for people to have the opportunity to share what they're doing, what they're thinking about, where they're going. That's absolutely fine. So what do we do when we get stuck? Well, breakdown. Quite a few people go into meltdown. Sometimes walking away from something for a while, put it down, don't do anything for the rest of the day, is a really good thing to do. However, you might want to share, talk to somebody else about it. I've already talked about Sue. You might want to do people like doing mind maps or post-it notes to prioritize things. Again, have some time out, maybe go for a walk, clean that cupboard under the stairs, do the pile of ironing, last thing I like doing, or just go and read something completely different, or go and watch that television program. There's no point in sitting there tearing your hair out trying to make it work, and quite often people report back, feedback to me that they've done that and it's worked for them, and certainly taking some time out works for me. So we expect you to submit via Moodle. I'm going to show you again in a minute where that is. It's the 10th of September. Sue has already emailed that out to you by 4 p.m. If you don't submit on time, it will tell you that you're submitting late. So try to get it in all on time, all nice and hunky-dory. Now, with the best will in the world, you have 12 weeks, and whatever we choose to do, people start a bit of reading, they get enthusiastic and they think, I've got 12 weeks, and then 90% of you will do your work very much at the last minute. It's the way we work in the NHS, and it's the way most of us work. I would love to advise you to do differently. Please think about it. The other thing is as well that something might happen in your personal life, or you have sickness, and it's preventing you from completing the work by the deadline. For goodness sake, please contact us, let us know, because there are ways which we can support you for either a late submission if you just need a bit of extra time, or you extenuate and you would submit for the next assessment exam board. And for you guys, that will be just after, at the end of January. So if you're struggling, from September to January is quite a bit of extra time. And this happens to people all the time. People have contacted, said, I've changed my job, I'm completely doing something different, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this, from I've been unwell, or all those things that go with it, or things that have gone on in my life that have really caused this. It's really important. There are forms to fill in, but we will send you those forms when you contact us. Don't give up and walk away. The majority of people that extenuate come back and refreshed and do well. So again, keep in touch with us. It's quite important that you do so. So please, I'm saying don't go away confused. You've got to ingest and digest the information. This recording will be on the site tomorrow. There's also the tutorial for you. If anybody's got any questions now, I'll just give you a minute or two. I don't know if Sue wants to add anything, and then what we'll say, I'll leave a few minutes for some questions to go in. If anybody wants to speak, they can stick their hand up. Sue, do you want to? Sue, if you want to speak, you need to unmute yourself. Or type in something. Right, first off, somebody said, is nursing standard acceptable journal to use for reference? I will say yes, because the nursing standard has a lot of skills things, developing mentoring skills in there. However, we would like to see a variety of sources, and the nursing standard isn't the only one. There are many out there, but the nursing standards certainly publish what's happening in the nursing world, in the nursing press. And I think that's really important to consider. I've stunned you all into silence. Yes, Sue wants me to tell you that she responds very quickly to emails. Sue's job takes her around the country. She does work for the NMC, and she also has other work, as well as being based at home and working with the university. Like myself, Sue will prioritise any students who are contacting her about mentorship, and you will get a very swift response from her. If there are periods she's not available, she will let you know, and I think that's important. Right, so I'm just going to end show a second. Right, where are we? I've opened so many windows to show you stuff. So I'm coming back to the website again. For those of you that are doing degree, I'm going to come to an end for you. I'm going to go on in 2 or 3 minutes and talking about masters. So before we say goodbye to our students that are doing degree, Sue does provide feedback on your drafts within about 45 hours on average, 48 hours, well that's not much difference, 48 hours, and so she's want to let you know she's very responsive. You will get feedback. You're sending a short draft, and we've found that the draft does tell us a lot about what you're thinking about and where you're going, and be able to guide you and get you on the right track if you've gone off track or you're thinking about things that aren't relevant. So to submit your work, you go into the submission site, you click on that and follow the instructions, and it's a case of dragging and dropping your work into the appropriate box. And it will ask you questions step by step. You will receive an email receipt that your work has been submitted, and all should be well. If you do have any problems on the day, you can contact Sue. We do have admin support. I need to remind you that also there is information on submitting your assignment here, and all of the other things, the tutorial, plagiarism, reference guide that we've been talking about. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. Just going to check in case I've missed a question. Okay, somebody's asked about the mentor update. Do you need to attend face-to-face one at work? Either or. Some at this time of year, towards sort of the time of year you're doing your assignment, because it's a summer, or your employers aren't running regular monthly mentor updates, and therefore accessing the online one is the option for you. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. Right, so I'm going to say goodbye. Those of you that are doing the degree, you don't have to stay and listen any longer. It's nice to have spoken to you, and we'll see you and your work, and Sue will be in contact with you. So for those of you that are master students, I'm going to now carry on. Same things apply around tutorial support. Same things apply, the principles that I've gone through apply to yourselves. Again, this is recorded in a little more detail, recorded on your website, your Moodle site, with the information for you. There is also study guidance, and also guidance for writing at master's level, as well as recommended text as well for you. So it's 4,000 words, and there's a minimum pass is 50%. You only have 2 attempts at masters as well. So for you, you're critically reflecting and evaluating your performance as mentor supporting workplace learning. It does require evidence of deep understanding of the theories, principles and concepts, evidence of advanced current complex issues relating to mentoring, and application of research-based evidence, policies, practice, informed judgments, and evidence of original thought. This is what we're looking for at Masters. Now, I've cited a book here, Studying for Skills Masters Level. There is a link on the site into it, and those of you who have access to university, all of you can access university libraries. There are copies in the library. What I also need to say is that quite a few of you are likely, the majority of people doing masters, it's the first time they've done masters. It's like the toe in the water maybe I'll do this at Masters and see how I go. It isn't an MMC requirement or HCPC requirement that you do mentorship at Masters level because you have got a degree. It's your choice. You can choose to switch to degree, but we need you to do that within the first month of this first month when you've thought about it. But if things get too much for you, getting lots of pressure and you're stuck and there's problems like I talked about earlier, please contact Sue because we can help and support and signpost you. So we want to see that you understand current conceptual research. So it's looking at the research and the evidence and to be able to critically assess and synthesize the factors that affect provision of mentorship within your clinical environment, and also demonstrating the ability to act with initiative and making decisions, professional and given guidelines, accepting accountability. Now these are the module learning outcomes that your work has to link into. They're very wordy, and looking at them you might think, oh my god, but actually it's fair, it's okay, because it will go on a little bit further, and I can't emphasize enough, look at previous students' work to help you. It has to reflect those module learning outcomes that we've said. Oops, I've shown you the same slide twice there, just to reinforce it. Okay, there is a recorded tutorial, but it's actually on the website for you. That was a bit short and sweet. So I'm going to come out of that and talk a little bit more. Essentially at Masters, as I said, you're expected to read the majority of things on all about the module. Sorry, majority of things about the topic area you've chosen. And this is where sometimes people find they have problems because of the time it takes to structure an assignment around this nature. What I'm going to do now is go into the Masters site and pick out the Masters. So this is your site for Masters, examples of previous student work, and also we have our assignment tutorial. What it talks here about is about structure. There is a suggested way to structure assignment, but it is how you think. There's the sort of like concepts around beginning, middle and end. Sometimes when people write at Masters, they like to do a review of the literature on the topic they've chosen. So let's, for example, say you're going to choose assessment. So that's where your focus is. That's where you're going to be exploring. And that's where you will be looking at the detailed literature. We're looking for synthesis. We're looking for original thought. We're looking to you're looking to see, are there any gaps? You know, is there anything that would be important? If things are missed, what's going on? So here we are. I'm going to start it from here. And look at, you might like to have set your work in this way. Looking at the literature, then your reflection, and then your summary. Your draft at Masters is 500 words, and again email to Sue as we've discussed. At Masters level we're expecting you to write well, accuracy, clarity, no room for error. Think about, does it address those module learning outcomes? Have you looked at the evidence? Have you looked at the theory? Have you said, well, just because blog said, does it mean that it's correct? Is it did somebody do some research and it was a small study? Does that mean it is applicable? What is that thinking? The critical, don't take things for granted. Look at the limitations and think of your ideas. Look at the values, dig behind the evidence and think about it. The why or so what does that actually mean? Does it contextualize things? Where is the source? How good is the source? Was it a small study, as I've just said? Look at the argument. What is the evidence against it? What are the counter arguments? Joe Blogg says, however, so-and-so says something else. Or all those things. So try to say, think about, don't go into some kind of, hyperbole and over egg it and not make sense. Think about the evidence and then think about how it relates to your experience. You might want to bring in material that isn't familiar, or there's a lot of material out. There's going to be a lot written about the new standards, the NMC standards that I've just talked about earlier. So have a look at that, explore them, critique what they're saying. Really, really, think about how will that change supporting and assessing students in the future. I'm aware of the time. I'm indicating that really you need to go away and think about it, and start to structure work. Sue will help guide you. 99% of people who submit a master's pass, so don't feel underconfident. Okay, Jane Marie Harvey's Sue has got problems because she's got linked on her website to 605. So what we'll do is we'll let admin know that one. Jane, I'll sort that out with admin. Has anybody got any more questions? When bombarded with quite a lot of information, you need to read the handbook, you need to have a good look at the site, you need to think about what you're doing. Pick a topic area to explore in depth. Let Sue know what you're thinking about. And as I said, have a look at previous students' work, have a look at how it's structured, and have a go, essentially, and we wish you luck. Same things apply if you get stuck, any problems. As I said, Sue's more than available for you. I'm just going to make a note before, so unless anybody's got any more questions, I'm going to say cheerio for the evening. Again, as I said, keep in contact with us. Don't just go away and think, oh my God, or any of those things. I'm going to now stop the recording and put